Welcome to another episode of Mayo Movie Club, where every month, more or less, I put together a list of movie recommendations for my viewers. We talk about timeless classics, modern masterpieces, influential films, and just plain entertaining films. Let's start with a giant of a film, Goodfellas, 1990. Arguably Martin Scorsese's masterpiece, and based on a true story. Goodfellas tells the story of Henry Hill, played by Ray Liotta, who I think is a pretty underrated actor. Little Henry runs jobs for the local mafia in his town and starts making good money, eventually working his way up the ranks to become a respected criminal. The movie centers around his personal ambitions and relationships with the supporting characters played by Robert De Niro, Karen Hill as his wife, and Joe Pesci in his most defining role only comparable to his performance as Harry in Home Alone. We follow Henry as he accumulates power and respect and wealth, eventually succumbing to his own greed and addiction as everything starts crumbling around him. It's the ultimate crime doesn't pay film, filled with career-defining performances and excellent direction. Goodfellas has gone on to be copied, parodied, and admired by generations of film lovers since its release. Despite its length, it's infinitely rewatchable and also a good time. Next up, Plus One from 2013. I never hear anyone talking about this movie. Did no one see it? This douchebag lead character screws things up with his girlfriend so she dumps him, and then they end up at the same summertime house party. Douchebag goes with his horny little brother who's actually funnier than you'd think he'd be. The brother just wants to get laid, and the main guy is desperate to patch things up with his ex-girlfriend. She's there with another guy, some hot older Latino dude who he definitely can't compete with. Then there's the awkward girl who gets picked on by all the cool kids, and she's friends with the douchebag and her brother. This doesn't sound very interesting, does it? But there's a twist. A meteorite falls to Earth and releases some kind of alien energy that starts spreading through the phone lines. When this mysterious energy arrives at the house, the party is moving outside to a secret dance stage with ridiculously hot strippers. Our main characters, for reasons tied to the story, are still inside the house while this is happening, and the effects of the alien energy begin to manifest. It's not a monster or a sickness, it's a time anomaly. It causes everything that happened about half an hour earlier to happen again. So while everyone is outside at the dance stage, perfect copies of them reappear in the house acting out exactly what they were doing before, and the main characters don't know what's happening, if these people are evil imposters or whatever. There's no way to know what the hell is going on, and the movie has such a unique and thick sense of tension that it'll keep you on the edge of your seat. It has some great personal drama at the center and humor, it has a cool look to it. The only downside is some of the special effects, but I think they're pretty forgivable given the budget. I can't say any more about this movie. If the premise interests you, watch it. It's one of my favorite movies to show people on a casual movie night. And don't mistake it for another movie called Plus One that came out a couple years ago about best friends that go to a wedding. That's actually a pretty good movie too if you want to watch it, but it's not the one I'm talking about. The next movie I'm recommending is one of the big five. I'm talking about my top 5 of all time. This movie will always have a place there. I'm talking about Predator, 1987, the manliest film ever made. When I really sit and think about Predator, I think about how it shouldn't work. A bunch of oily dudes in the jungle flexing their muscles and fighting an alien? It sounds like a joke. It's very much a product of the late 80s and could never be reproduced today. But something about Predator just works, and I don't think it's due to any one factor. It's the cast, the director, the script, the pacing, the editing, the creature design, the music, the location, the action. It's all so fucking good. It is, in my opinion, the best Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Terminator made him famous, but in Predator, you can just feel his charisma oozing through the camera. He was having so much fun in this role, and he had the perfect set of actors supporting him. He looks awesome too. Every time it gets to this scene where he tells everyone to wait and he does it by flexing his arm, you just gotta be like, God damn, how is that even real? The brilliance of Predator is how it starts as a very standard action movie that has very little to do with the alien threat. The military has lost contact with the team they sent into the jungle on a covert mission, and they bring in Arnold's team as specialists to go find out what happened and complete the mission. The cast of characters is instantly memorable and interesting, and they set out through the Congo discovering a crashed helicopter and skinned corpses, hinting at the presence of the Predator, as they can't imagine what actually happened here. They come across the base that the original team was supposed to check out, and we get a sequence that is hands down the most badass 80s over-the-top action scene of all time, as Arnold and his men lay waste to everything and everybody in front of them, leading to Arnold discovering what's really happening here and that his team has been manipulated by the suits in charge. None of it has anything to do with the Predator, but it's so entertaining and awesome that it doesn't matter. That's why this movie is so strong. When you watch one of the Friday the 13th movies, you're just waiting for Jason to show up. But in Predator, the first half hour isn't about the Predator and you don't even care because it's so fun. When the Predator does eventually show up, the movie becomes a jungle slasher film filled with gore, character tension, and survival as they go up against something the human race is ill-prepared to fight. It's one of the greatest action movies ever made, and the director John McTiernan went on to direct Die Hard after this, which is also one of the greatest action movies ever made. Watch it, then watch it again, then show it to everyone you know who hasn't seen it. Speaking of watching movies and then watching them again, and then showing them to people who haven't seen them, the last movie on this list is one of the most unique films I've seen in recent years, and that's One Cut of the Dead, a Japanese independent horror film. I can't say much about this one because it would spoil the fun. All I'm gonna say is that it's a low-budget zombie movie that's done in one cut, meaning it's from one camera perspective with no editing. It's all one shot in one single take, which doesn't allow for any acting mistakes or production mistakes. And if you know anything about filmmaking, you know that filming a movie in one take is a gargantuan task that involves thousands of little things to be coordinated so it all comes out perfectly. There's a famous one-take sequence in Goodfellas where Henry enters the club and the camera moves throughout. It's about 3 minutes long and it set the standard for doing a long take. Now imagine a complete movie done like that. The last thing I'll say about this movie is that it's the only movie that when I finished it, I immediately said, I have to watch this again. And I restarted the movie because by the end of it, the entire first section will be viewed in a totally new context. That's it for this episode of Mayo Movie Club. These movie videos are difficult to monetize, so if you'd like to support my work on this channel, check out my Patreon at the link below. Enjoy the movies, and I'll see you next time.